You peoples in the comments had told me that the dude Art Lassiter was Miss Robbie's, Sweetie Pie's, Miss Robbie's baby father. I was like, what? If I had my pearls on, I swear to God, I would grab them. So listen, y'all, Lulu right here. He's in my lap taking his nap. If you hear the grunts or the heavy sighs, that's because I'm irritating him because my talking is in the way of him getting a good nap. So show us patience. You know my baby is spoiled. We had so many Ikettes. When they came on stage, men would just holler and stuff. So I got the bright idea of putting together some real pretty girls, natural beauties. There was one set of Ikettes that looked so pretty. Boy, there were two sisters I hired up in Ohio. Beautiful. Another girl, Martha, I'd been messing with at the Apparel. She was high yellow and pretty. Man, they looked so good it seemed like if they walked in rain, they would melt. When these girls walked on stage, the men in the audience creamed their pants. But when they opened their mouths, they couldn't sing worth shit. Everybody would put their hands under their chins like, I don't know, I don't know about this bunch. I went through a whole 90 one-nighters with these damn girls. They couldn't sing a note. So I started getting the band boys to play the notes they were supposed to be singing. The horns were playing their parts to try to make them sound better. So I made up my mind not to find no more pretty women. Not just pretty at any rate. They had to be able to sing. And they had to be able to dance. We kept changing Ikettes until I got Pat Padril and another girl named Marsha Thomas, who was about 18 or 19 years old. And then there was Adrienne. She had big, fine legs. She was nice. And Paulette Parker, who I hired on the road while we were touring. I used these girls for a number of years, but man, then I started having trouble with the Ikettes. The band boys started going with them and stuff. If I fired one of them, I had to fire her too. And then if I fired her, I would have to fire the horn player she was going with. Or at least he was going to quit if she went. And if I fired him, she was going to leave. So I passed a rule that none of the band boys could go with the girls. They took the attitude that I was just jealous and didn't want them to F the girls because I wanted to keep them for myself. That may be true, Ike. But that wasn't the idea at all. You remember Art Lassiter? Art Lassiter was a dude that grouped Ike Turner. Yeah, I'm going to be there to sing the song, Just a Fool in Love. I'll be there. But the only way I can get there is unless you give me $80 because I got 4 flat tires. And the dude never showed. One of you peoples in the comments had told me that the dude Art Lassiter was Miss Robbie's, Sweetie Pie's, Miss Robbie's baby father. I was like, what? If I had my pearls on, I swear to God, I would grab. After reading that comment, I went in and did some research, child. Hold tight. Robbie Montgomery had a son, Andre Montgomery, with Art Lassiter. Her grandson, Andre Montgomery Jr., was featured on her show and was murdered in a shooting in 2016. I'll continue. Montgomery's son, James Timothy Norman, the dude who just went to jail for shooting his nephew or murking his nephew. Montgomery's son, Tim Norman, was born in 1979. He managed the Sweetie Pie's restaurant on Manchester Avenue in St. Louis in 2018. Norman was arrested for an incident in 2017 where he was accused of punching his ex-restaurant employee. He also was in trouble for stealing some monies from his mother's establishments because remember, I think he had opened up other restaurants under his mother's name but didn't have permission. Miss Robbie didn't even know what the hell was going on. She was like, what? I got restaurants. When? On August 18th, 2020, Norman was arrested in Mississippi and charged for his alleged role in a murder-for-hire plot that resulted in the death of Andre Jr. in 2016. Art Lassiter's and Robbie Montgomery's grandson. I had no idea. Now, it was already treacherous. I'm not saying just because it's Art Lassiter's grandson that it's even worse. It was already treacherous that he decided to murk his nephew. But to find out that the little boy had so much greatness in him. In 2016, it was reported that Norman was proven to be sole beneficiary to an insurance policy on Andre, recruited a Memphis exotic dancer named Terica Ellis and others to assist in the murder plot. Now that, ladies and gentlemen, is the dirtiest dick nigga. There was also trouble between Tina and the Ikettes. I don't know whether Tina was jealous of the Ikettes, but some of them would mess her about, especially Claudia Lanier. She was another real good Ikette, one of my picks. Tina told me in Las Vegas, Claudia is doing something to me on stage. I can't put my finger on it. I wish you would talk to her. Well, I didn't know what she was talking about. Couldn't put it together. I watched her every show to see what she was doing because I knew Tina wasn't going to lie on her. In one part of the show, they got in front of each other. I could see Claudia from the back, and as far as I could tell, her body was moving the way it was supposed to be moving. So what was Tina talking about? Maybe Tina was making up something because she knew I was tight with Claudia. Then I picked up on what Claudia was doing to Tina. When they got in front of each other, they were supposed to be looking into each other's eyes and having fun. But Claudia was looking over Tina, not at her. There wasn't no visual contact, and she was doing it purposefully. Because I was looking at Claudia from the back, she knew I couldn't see her. You see, Tina ain't no weak thing, and she ain't going to respect nobody who is weak either. After we had shows traveling for about 2 years, performing and doing television shows, Channel 9 started putting on white girls doing their hair like Tina and the Ikettes. And all this wildness started on TV. Then all the networks began to imitate us with white girls in very short skirts with long hair flying all about, dancing on stage. In no time at all, this became the new fad nationwide. They eventually called them go-go girls. Whenever we had days off, to make sure that I earned steady money for the band, I would book our act on the popular shows of the time, like the Johnny Carson Show, Dickety Clarkety's American Bandstand, Shindig, or Soul Train. Ike and Tina continued to come up with hits. The real problem for their record was crossover, how to get out of the black R&B market and into the white pop mainstream. We came up with It's Gonna Work Out Fine, I Think It's Gonna Work Out Fine, and Fool Fool with me and Tina, and I'm Blue for the Ikettes. I Cut Peaches and Cream for the Ikettes. It was a smash hit record, but it might easily not have been because in white America, it was what they called a black record. Man, I don't want to sound like I'm hung up on race and shit. It sounds like you're hung up on race and shit. I'm not, but there are certain things you just can't get around. It's just there. It's a fact. Pause. This is what I want to say. When I come across people who have this particular mindset, and I'm not saying it's not found, because he has seen some treacherous things in his life. One being his daddy getting kicked in the stomach or getting holes kicked in his stomach by a bunch of white men for messing with that white man's side bitch. It's just funny to me when I see men that have so much resentment towards white America, but they stay sliding their pickle into a white American woman. Jules Bahari, Joe's brother at the record company, told me that he wanted a pop record, so I cut this one. At that time, Martin had a black promotion man. They released Peaches and Cream. After a month and a half, no play on the radio. KGFJ, the black stations, are not going to play it because it is not a black record. And the black promotion guy can't get it on the white stations. I called Jules and said, hey man, what's happening with the record? Jules said, man, the record ain't happening. Man, it's not being played. I told him, how are you going to tell if it's any good or not? He said, Ike, don't you know we're in the business to make money out of records? If there was any way we could get the record on, we would get it on. We're about money. So I said, I bet you $2,000 I get the record on. He said, okay. There were these two guys who owned the California Distributing Company. They distributed Motown Records and a lot of the pop labels in the area. And so they had power at KRLA and KFWB. I flew into Los Angeles and went to see the two guys. I told them I would give them $500 a piece if they got Peaches and Cream on KRLA and KFWB. Well, that's called payola. I mean, any record could make it if you deal with payola. It's payola. They got the record on KFWB, played it as their discovery, and KRLA as their pick of the week. In 1 week, we sold 250,000 copies in the Los Angeles area. Yeah, because you paid them to play it. I met Aunt Thomas when we played Bakersfield. She was a little old girl standing in front of this stage with this false hair and her face all painted up. I couldn't tell whether she was Spanish or Japanese or what the hell she was. I didn't know that she wasn't but 17 years old. Anyway, I knew I liked her. Boy, I really liked her. I gave her $50 to come up to LA the next night to play Chiro's, a place on Sunset Boulevard right next door to the Hyatt Hotel. I got her a room in the hotel and she came. That was the beginning of us. I introduced her to Tina and Tina thought she was very pretty. Anyway, when we needed some girls to play Vegas, Tina suggested that I send for Ann and she tried her out. Yeah, I think Ann is the girl that was Tina and Ikettes' girlfriend at the same time. Ann had the looks and could dance, but she couldn't sing. She couldn't carry a note in a paper sack, man. She's tone deaf. But Tina wanted to put her in the band, she said. She's pretty enough. She don't have to sing. That was great for me. She and Tina hit it off real good. Now this is where I reflect back to the Tina book when I said, girl, when are you just going to come out and say that the damn girl Ann was your girlfriend? Because I was just going through the book and it was so many little whispers of they love each other like best friends, sisters, sister wives, and lovers. Okay, because these two were inseparable. And Ike hasn't said anything about they jumped in a bed together. But I still stand firm on the fact that Tina Turner had some tomboyish ways about her, and if she wanted to, she could have gotten in bed with any of Ike's girlfriends. Okay, I said it, goddammit, and I ain't changing on it. So now we have 4 girls instead of 3. 3 girls who could sing pretty good, and then Ann for looks. That worked. We trained her to do the act. We took videos of the Ikettes to show them what they were doing wrong. Ann was with the Ikettes for some years. People thought she sang, but she never did sing. Whenever I heard something out of tune on stage, I knew it was Ann Thomas, who had done started singing. She could sing in between keys, man. It was horrible, and she didn't even know it. But boy, Ann Thomas was my kind of girl. She was sensuous. She had a lot of sex appeal, and I loved her. For a fact, I loved her, and I loved Tina. I loved them both. I loved Tina but I was in love with Ann Thomas. They both got the name Ann, but they knew the difference. When they were both together, I said Ann, and whichever one I was talking to would look round and the other one wouldn't. I guess I put a different accent on it. There was no rivalry between them. I never seen no arguments between them or nothing. I would hear Ann Thomas and Tina talking in the dressing room. Whenever Tina said something to put me down, Ann would tell her no, that ain't I. If Ann said something about me, Tina would tell her no, that ain't what he do. They had a pretty good hookup. Ann Thomas is a real beautiful woman. In LA, she was living at the house with me and Tina. She slept in the game room where the piano was. That's where I would write at night. When we got home from work, you know the long gowns that hang all the way down to the floor, but you can see the cat through the gown? Shit, Tina and Ann would have them gowns on and be walking around. My ding would get. Tina would say, I'm going to bed, and kiss me goodnight. And she would leave Ann in there with me, 'cause Ann was supposed to sleep there on one of them couches, which were as big as the bed. One night I stopped playing the piano, child, and crawled on top of Ann. Now they getting grooving. I mean, for real. Then all of a sudden the light clicked on. Child, it was Tina the Turner. She clicked on the light and seen them getting it. She said, my bad. Clicked the light back off and went back upstairs. My thing is, Tina the Turner, what the fuck are you going downstairs for in the middle of the night? Are you down there to get you some of Ann too? See, y'all can't tell me that Ann and Tina the Turner wasn't hunching. There's nothing you can do to make me believe that, because them two loved each other. Finally, man, Ann got pregnant by me. Then some guys over in London were crazy about Ann. They tried to get her to sign up with them for recording, but she couldn't carry a note, as I said. I think they were into some pussy. Ann didn't go for it, but the other 3 Ikettes quit. They were going to go over and sign with these people in London. I replaced all 3 of them, man. In the meantime, Tina was teaching Ann to cook what I liked the way I liked it. How to do everything the way I liked. Tina was training Ann to be her. I don't know whether they discussed me when they were on their own, but I do know they were very open with each other. At that time, I had another woman too. When I first saw Rhonda, I was playing at the 54 Ballroom in LA. It was a predominantly black club, and Rhonda was the onlyest white person in there. I noticed her from the stage. She was doing her neck real funny. What the fuck does that mean? I asked her, why don't she come on and ride up to the house with us when we got off? She said, yeah, so she followed me and Tina. She had a cream-colored convertible. I think it was a 56 Chevy. After she came up a couple of times, I said, why don't you spend the night? And she stayed all night. Finally, I started messing around and screwing her. She was very, very, very loyal. But like all women, she could be devious too. I had her and Ann Thomas living together for a while. And then she would tell Ann, I came to my room last night, man. I hate for him to come into my room. She told Ann all that shit, and Ann would come to me and say, why don't you tell Rhonda to stop telling me what she do with you? See, Ike had them girls in an understanding, okay? And when you got money, you can have bitches in an understanding as long as they are willing participants. I don't know how much of a victim Tina Turner is when it comes to Ike. Because I do believe that Tina Turner could have kicked Ike's ass at any moment. She just didn't feel like it at the time. Rhonda was a good girl for me. She handled all of our business. Man, I could tell her to do anything and she would do it. The only bad part about Rhonda was that she would never make a decision about anything. She was always afraid to make a damn decision. When President Kennedy was killed in 1963, we were on our way to Peoria, Illinois. I was lying in the back of the car. Jimmy Thomas was driving. He had the radio on. All at once, they broke in with a special bulletin saying that Kennedy had been shot. Down inside of me, I was hoping that he would live. It wasn't that long afterwards they said he died. I just couldn't believe it, man. I never did meet John Kennedy nor Bobby, but I love Ethel Kennedy. Ethel Kennedy is, like, really my friend. B.B. King was living in Pasadena. All at once, man, he gets to be real famous again. But it didn't come from America. It came because the English people were into blues. You go to England, they can tell you more about what is happening in America as far as blues and stuff is concerned. But now in America, there were people trying to understand it. So the Bob Krasnow and the Don Grahams, the promotion guys who could really get a record on the radio, they went to England to see what the English people were dancing to. They came back and said, hey man, blues is what's happening. Ike soon got to see the blues scene in England for himself. After having a huge hit in the UK and the rest of the world, and a huge flop in the US with a record that he neither wrote, arranged, produced, nor performed on. I did a thing, the TNT show with Phil Spector.
Hollywood is world, Hollywood is world. Lovely wife and I, baby carry. No all the stars and gold, the sands and gold, but it is in Hollywood.